like one of those scenarios. Don't look over here. Look over here. We're talking about the Dodgers. Maybe we're talking about the Padres and the Giants a little bit. What about the Snakes out there in Arizona, Jensen? Maybe a little bit of a disappointment last year, missing the postseason, only 80 wins. But it feels like when you look at the portfolio, it's very similar to the team that won 80 last year with the win total sitting at 79.5 this year.
Well, sneaky good offseason for them up until we got the news that Corbin Carroll had the hamate bone injury. Now, it sounds like he is actually going to be able to return and be a guy there much earlier than anticipated. So we'll kind of watch how that transpires. But overall, this offseason, you get Nolan Arenado in the trade with the St. Louis Cardinals. You sign the Sage veteran, my former teammate, Carlos Santana. Can't believe he's still playing right now. And then, it was kind of fell in their lap with Zac Gallen, who was unsigned for majority of the offseason. And then he comes back and ends up inking a one-year deal for $22 million to be the ace of this staff. And Dave, the win total is suppressed for a team that went 80 and 82 last year. And I make that mention because when you're looking up at the Dodgers, who only won 93 regular season games but won the World Series, you're looking up at a Padre team that won 90 games last year, but you and I have talked about them thinking they could take a step back. I think the Giants are going to be good. You all of a sudden, I think, have to take the Diamondbacks a bit more seriously. Remember, this is an offense last year that was top 5 in OPS, top 6 in runs scored, top 8 in home runs, and had an emergence of a guy in Geraldo Perdomo that might be a very dark horse NL MVP candidate. And again, we're all looking for if Ohtani were to be injured, and that's the only way you feel you'd have a pathway to that award. Perdomo, Ketel Marte, who's also an MVP candidate, Corbin, you have 3 MVP candidate guys that are leading off your top third of your offense for Torey Lovullo and company. The questions for me end up being health of their rotation. They need a bounce back campaign and a healthy campaign from lefty Eduardo Rodriguez. They've got Michael Soroka, who they signed as a free agent from the Cubs in December, who's actually looked really good. I don't know if you saw what he did for Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic, but he actually looks pretty solid, which might be a nice little bargain buy for the Diamondbacks at the back of the rotation. Their youngster and Brandon Pfaadt should be fine. Ryan Nelson took a major step forward for them. He's probably their number 2 starter this year. So the rotation has the makings of a pretty consistent group. My biggest question is the back of their bullpen. It was one of the worst units overall in all of baseball last year. They do have significant injuries to 3 of their biggest leverage guys, Dave. Justin Martinez, Tommy John surgery, A.J. Puck, who also had Tommy John, and then Andrew Saalfrank, who had shoulder surgery here early in February. We're going to wait and see what the timetable and the rehab looks like for Martinez and Puck, because they had that TJ back in June of last year, almost a week between each other. Could they find themselves back into Torey Lovullo's bullpen into leverage scenarios by this June, maybe earlier? I think that is a massive boost. You're looking for the Diamondbacks to tread water early. I think they have the capabilities of doing that. Also remember on the horizon here, Merrill Kelly, who they also brought back. It sounds like, Dave, if he misses time, it might be 1 start at the beginning of the season, but he should return. And then remember the big free agent signing from a year or so ago was Corbin Burns, who also will be making his way back from Tommy John. I bring this information to you from the win total perspective because think of those reinforcements in turn. They don't have to make moves. They're getting those kinds of reinforcements, and those feel like deadline deals early in the season or earlier, and you don't have to give away resources. So I look at their win total, and I mentioned it felt suppressed. I would play the over, 79.5. I think Arizona does have the makings of being not only a competitive team, but Torey Lovullo finds ways every single year to get the best out of his group, even when they're ravaged by injuries over the last couple of years. I wrote in our betting guide, if they hang around long enough, perhaps the wild card race remains viable deep into September.
You know, one of my favorite lines in Top Gun is, remember, boys, there's no points for second place. You shut up, and maybe I will. So are we playing for second place in the NL West? And if so, Could second place be good enough to get you in as a wild card? Again, you don't want to give and wave the white flag to the Dodgers for the division just yet. But if you are looking at the underbelly there, and that means the Snakes, that means the Giants and the Padres, with all due respect to the Rockies, we'll see if they can be improved. But if you're looking at those three teams in a microscope, Jensen, who would you trust most to play for second place out of those three if they're really maybe in the win totals only separated by a couple games?
It's probably a coin flip between San Francisco and Arizona. And let me highlight one other player. Jordan Lawler, one of their top prospects, had been a middle infielder, corner infielder. He has moved to center field and has had an outstanding spring. And so another guy that's going to be able to lengthen that lineup, very athletic. Gaby Moreno is going to be their power hitting catcher in the middle of the lineup. Pavan Smith will be their designated hitter. The lineup has balance to it, Dave. It has the ability, as I mentioned just a year ago. I mean, if you were to take the name away from those statistics for hitting as far as a team goes, and you were to try and name who that team would be, 5th in OPS, 6th in runs, 8 in homers, would you think of the Arizona Diamondbacks? Probably not. And that is a boost for them, knowing that if their pitching can remain relatively healthy and they get those reinforcements internally in Corbin Burnes in the rotation, in Justin Martinez, AJ Puck, even Andrew Saalfrank. I mean, this is a nice team to kind of hitch your wagon to at a very elevated number. You see that 35-1 to win the National League pennant. Dave, we're only a handful of years removed from 2023 where they were out of the playoff race in September, early September, and then they went on a massive run, got hot, and got to the World Series. They have the right manager who's probably on the hot seat a little bit this year, so there's going to be a sense of urgency from day one. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that if you were going to take shots on a team to unseat the Dodgers, and I'm with you, I don't think it happens, but if you were going to take a shot, the Diamondbacks would be the team because I think of their overall roster construction and what they have coming internally that could really give them that second wind in the middle of the year and perhaps down the stretch.
And what's interesting is if you're looking at the rest of the NL West, right? The Padres, we saw what happened there in the postseason. They couldn't hit, right? The Giants, it always feels like they're going to have that frontline pitching. They're going to try to win. You would think with pitching and defense, do they hit enough? Do you have those questions about Arizona? Because I think if I'm picking up what you're putting down, is maybe we might like this team here to hit the most out of those other three, not named the Dodgers. It's the back end of the bullpen that concerns you, but help could be on the way. So if you do have the pitching help to come, do you think you're going to get enough offense that you can trust from Arizona versus San Francisco and San Diego you might have offensive questions about?
If they can out-hit their bullpen early in the year and kind of give that extra cushion, man, they might be in a great spot, and those numbers could fluctuate quite quickly. So that's why I'm thinking if you're looking for a longer shot, and they'll be overshadowed by the Dodgers, and rightfully so, win total over 79.5, I think is a great play. If you want to diversify a portfolio, potentially with an NL pennant ticket at 35-1, find your best plus price for them to make the playoffs. You can probably break up maybe even a half unit, the NL West at 22-1, the NL pennant at 35-1. I think there's too much to like about what they have potentially coming internally, not to get some sort of Diamondback futures into your portfolio.
And this is why we love the Daily Diamond every day with breakdowns just like that. Jensen Lewis, great stuff as always.